We hear a lot of talk about the comfort zone and the fact that we need to step out of it. And today I want to explore this topic with you and find out what it is and what are its pros and its cons. The comfort zone is actually your current circumstance. It's the things that you know well, that you're familiar with, your routines, your expectations, those that come as second nature, that are anticipated, that are understood, whether good or bad, is irrelevant. And so, as we look into whether or not to step out of the comfort zone, we need to first establish what it means to you. Because we look at this as a mass action that everybody needs to do. But for some people, the comfort zone is actually an amazing place to be. And as much as we still encourage change from those people, it's completely different for them than those who are really struggling, who are being abused, who are traumatized in their current comfort zones. It's still the place that you know. It's still the enemy that you know. It's still the demon that you understand. But is that comfort zone a healthy zone? And so the urgency for you to step out of it and the methods and strategies that you need to use to step out of your current comfort zone are completely different from someone who is happy and successful and stable in their current comfort zone. They have the right relationships, they have amazing children, they have a career, and they still need to grow in themselves. And I'll tell you why those happy, stable people also need to grow out of their own current circumstances. My name is Asa, and I welcome you warmly to Clear Minds and Self Healing. I appreciate all my returning subscribers, and I invite any person watching for the first time to subscribe and join us here. I produce weekly content around self-empowerment, self-growth, and self-healing using topics like this that we are looking into today. Now, when I explored the topic of comfort zone, the word pilgrimage kept coming into my mind. And when I looked it up, it says that it's a devotional practice which consists of prolonged action or prolonged journey towards a specific destination. And I thought it fits well into this topic because that's who we are as progressive, evolving human beings. You have a destination, and growth of any kind needs that devotion. It needs persistent and prolonged action and routine. And it needs a specific destination and the aim or goal that you seek to achieve by that change that we are looking at in relation to the comfort zone. So the easiest way to look at your comfort zone, which will motivate you to seek that growth and to find a balance yet go for more, is the fact that it has been proven that happiness will soon stagnate or regress if you don't add to it. That what you see now as beautiful and good and stable will start to mold if you don't make it grow and polish it and make it seem even more beautiful as you go along your life. This is why we buy posh cars that come out and soon start to see that they no longer meet our needs. As your family grows, as your age or your circumstance changes, or just because you've lived in that car long enough to start noticing its issues or to get over your initial overwhelm about it. I spoke a while ago about the law of diminishing marginal utility, which is how your satisfaction drops the more you consume something that you initially valued or loved, because you start to get sick of it, its intensity, its sameness. The more you consume it, the more you take it in, the more you live in it, the more it becomes ordinary. the more you seek change. And this is not to say that we can drop all relationships and children and go and have new things, but it means that the investment is persistent. Their value is enormous. And that's why you have to persistently grow, change things, date nights, travel, invite people, spice it up. Some people in our lives want to remain the same, to keep the same old habits that we tolerated, and expect us to keep seeing them the way we saw them because we accepted those mistakes once. To keep listening to them moaning about their shortcomings and disadvantages and trauma and experiences day after day and year after year, even as you tolerate them and wait for some growth and wait for them to grow up and start to deal with them differently, because that sound and that moan and that complaint gets to a point of overwhelm, ridicule, and even irritation, because we all want change. As human beings, we all have a purpose. We have dreams. And for some of us, we never live to experience the purpose and the dream because we stay endlessly in the zone of comfort, the place where we know and we understand, where we can anticipate anything that is potentially going to go right or wrong. And therefore, even though it's not necessarily for its perfection, we stay there because we know it well enough. We stay there because we lack confidence and we are scared of what may happen if we venture out. For that reason, we miss to challenge ourselves. We miss to acquire new skills and to expand our horizon and learn new things. But if you're able to address this fear and learn the skills that you require, you will find your purpose and you will live your dreams. So, how do we get out of our comfort zones, especially for those who are already doing well in that comfort zone? How do you excel without destabilizing yourself? Because if what scares us is the anxiety of losing everything, today I'll give you a few tips that will give you the assurance that you can reach out without dropping everything. And to begin with, I want to explore why we are scared. And according to Soren Kierkegaard, he thinks that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. That we have so much potential in our lives that when we look at its enormity and all the endless possibilities sitting in our faces, it creates anxiety rather than comfort. And so the way to overcome that is to break it down and find yourself a middle ground that gives you simple, achievable things as opposed to endless possibilities that end up too much for you to grasp and too scary for you to reach for. The one really significant thing that we need to bear in mind as we go through this comfort zone reflection is the panic zone. And that's the one that sits outside of the growth zone that we reach for. But for some of us, we reach right past the growth zone into the panic zone, which is also the crash and burn zone. The reason for that is either because we went for goals just because we saw other people reaching for them without really examining our own skills at the moment, our own health, our own potentials and motivation, or because we reach too quickly. We set goals that are so unrealistic that we want to go from size 20 to size 10 within a month. And therefore, even though those are possible and achievable goals to us, the time scales that we set for ourselves are unrealistic. The momentum and the motivation that we gave the task was short in regards to what the outcome is. And so we fail not because we are not capable, but because we had unrealistic expectations or inappropriate actions and planning towards those goals. So the way to approach that is to set goals that are tailored to your abilities and your circumstances and the support that you have at the moment. Make sure that they're goals that are persistent, that you do those frequently, mornings, evenings, and be clear on the times that these are going to be done so that you can evaluate and eliminate the procrastination that the tomorrow or the someday kind of words and language and actions will create in your life. Make sure that you do this increasingly so that you start from a comfortable level, but the more you achieve, the higher you go and the more persistent you go into those goals. We all want to learn, but it's the change that we fear. And the reason for that is because of the scary panic zone, the stories that we have of everything that can possibly go wrong on that journey of learning. And that's what often brings us back to our comfort zone, that place of stability and the place that we know how to function at. The reality is that your comfort zone describes your current circumstances, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It describes your current emotion, your mind, your body, your spiritual situation at the moment. And it's really important to acknowledge that sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. And that in other cases, we are fooling ourselves of the actual reality of these circumstances. In which case, for some of us, we have to learn outside that zone. But for others, we have to unlearn a lot of negative and toxic things that surround us now to be able to move on and achieve outside that zone. And therefore, as you identify what you need to do, whether learn or unlearn or both, you take the steps out of that zone knowing exactly where you want to go. And therefore, knowing the skills that you seek to achieve and those that you already have that will be of benefit to that destination. That we identified you as a pilgrim on this journey, a journey which needs devotion, a journey which needs persistence, and a journey which needs a clear destination that you're aiming for. Because failure of that, you're throwing balls without a goalpost. You're aiming at the dark. What is your biggest issue in this comfort zone? What is your biggest strength? And what is the biggest skill that you need to get to the next level? So that you're bringing the strength with you and you're using the skill to improve on the weakness and you're aiming at that well-intended destination. I will be preparing my next slides to actually give you some strategies for growth. Those confidence building ones that will elevate you to the right level of growth, not into the panic one, and that will also elevate the anxiety that keeps you endlessly at the zone where you are at the moment. So I hope to see you again next week as we look into the next area of self-growth. Please share this, motivate and empower someone else, and join me again in the next video.